Hello, 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 all. Our friends, our haters, the curious ones, and the enemies, because boy, do we have enemies. They tried everything to stop our show today. And wait until you find out why. Every week, we share things with you that even we have difficulty believing, although we are participants and we are actually the people doing what we're sharing. It is still very difficult sometimes to believe. But I can assure you that everything we're telling you today has happened. And based on what we've been told, in time, you will see for yourself. I have saved as many videos as I can that I will insert in these videos where people are sharing experiences that are similar to some of what we have shared. Because I would go out on a limb to say the majority of what we are sharing, I can assure you, the only humans who have participated in these particular events are mostly Erik and Mel, and I have been the sounding board where they come and knock, and it like takes us to where we have to go for them to do what they have to do. I am someone who does not put humans on pedestals, but these two people I have on pedestals because I have been friends with them long enough now to know they have a heart like mine, which is one for humanity, which is one to see change on the planet and to see the bullies taken down. I could feel it in my blood, and it's the first thing I think of when I wake up in the morning because I am tired of seeing a self appointed few tying circles over our heads, enslaving us, and taking out those of us like us who are awake and are trying to waken our brothers and sisters. Because, in my opinion, we all are, regardless of our beliefs and our skin color. We are all God's children and have been put here for a reason. We have so much to share that I don't want to tie up today's session with a long introduction. And because it's already going to be a long show, let me warn you, but you don't want to miss any of it. I'm going to welcome Erik and Mel, and we are going to share what we found out is the real reason behind what Sandra Tongue was doing to me. Sandra Tongue, I want to say this to you. The reason that I don't mention the other last name that you have, so people would know exactly who I'm speaking about, is someone that I hold great respect for, and someone who is a victim, like I was. But I am leaving God to deal with that. But I know, those who know I'm referring to you, because some of them have seen you in action. So without much ado, keep watching. You will find out what I'm talking about shortly. I welcome my sister and friend, Mel. Mel, welcome.
Thank you. Thanks for having me back.
I've never been so excited about a segment. And my friend and brother, Erik. Erik, welcome.
Hello, everybody. It's Sunday. I'm tired, but I'm okay.
And I can promise you guys he has good reason to be tired. Sometimes I'm just waiting on him to yell, "Enough! I'm going to bed now." But I would say the majority of this week, Erik, Mel, and I have been working 2-3 hours every night. But it's the best work that I have ever done. And I would assume that they share similar sentiments. So, you and I decided this morning Erik has a lot to tell this week. So why don't I start with you, Mel, and then you can tell Erik when you're ready for him to take the mic.
Okay. Well, So, I'm going to see, I need to think of where I begin because some of it ties into what Erik did. A lot of it does. So I decided I'm just going to speak on something that I personally were kind of gravitating towards in these past few weeks. And that is something that's been on my mind with regard to the what people refer to the matrix. Okay. And it's interestingly enough, I spoke about this on my TikTok channel and my YouTube channel this morning. For some reason, Spirit wanted me to just speak on it and relay a channel message that I received about this, in recent time. Now, here's the deal. Throughout the past few weeks, as we were, talking amongst one another, I had gotten the feeling that there's something for me personally that I needed to do with regard to what people refer to the matrix. And the matrix is something that, many in the, which actually were sort of being put off as the conspiracy community, is that this matrix, that we're being influenced by something, that we're living in a reality that really isn't real. Okay, that's kind of what that is. Many liken it to the movie The Matrix, and that it's a name that most people have heard at one point or another. Now, for some reason, I felt really, really drawn to this, and which I never have. And it was due to certain things that Erik has mentioned and experienced throughout these past few weeks. And I felt the need to do something. It's almost like within me, something was boiling, right? And coming to a point where I thought I needed to do something. I'm going to speak on that now. Last Monday, the 17th, is when it all came to a halt, because I woke up in the morning of the 17th on Monday, and I thought to myself, it popped in my head again, this matrix thing. And then I heard, it's not a matrix, it's a hologram. And I thought to myself, a hologram? Okay, well, I've heard of that before too. Some people, actually some channelers, have referred to the same very thing as a hologram. I never referred to it that way, because to me, a hologram is when something is projected, right? And you see it and it's projected to you. Well, it sort of is like that, but more on a deeper level. It's a hologram in this sense. The matrix is something that is being projected so that we don't recognize what it really is. Okay, that's kind of what it comes down to. So what has happened on Monday morning is this. I decided to ask Spirit, is there anything I need to do? Is there anything that I felt the need to do something? And they're like, yep. Let's do it. And so what I was shown is that there are a multitude of people in the world that were working on this so-called matrix or hologram. And what they were doing is these are people who are very skilled in magicals. They're very skilled, and they were trained, and they were found in various remote locations. So that's how it began. I basically was shown people in Antarctica, in the rainforest in South America, in the bush, in Australia, and in the bush in South Africa, and in Siberia. So very remote, but one place wasn't remote. And interestingly enough, that was Davos, Switzerland. Surprise there. I know we've mentioned this before. So there are people that were sort of working with this so-called hologram. Now, at that given time, when I went to these people and sort of disabled them, I disabled them in a way that I was shown I needed to disable them. And they were only disabled temporarily, by the way, so that something else could occur. And that is, afterwards, I was shown, or taken rather, to a place that I don't quite, to this day, know the exact location of. And I think there's a reason for that. I think the location of this thing, this oval-shaped object that I was presented with, is meant to remain, hidden, even to me. Anyhow, so I went to this place, and I felt the need to put my hand on this oval-shaped object. And this oval-shaped object, the next thing I know is that this parts of it opened up, and all of these magical symbols and spells came out of it, and it went on for which appeared to be like minutes. And during while this was happening, I could feel that a threat was coming in. So other entities were, approaching me as I was doing this, and all I could sense was that there was somebody fighting around me, keeping them away. And all I heard was, pay no attention, keep going. And I thought to myself, okay, I got my little hands on this object and I'll just keep going and do what I do. And they wanted me basically to make sure that all of those spells, whatever those are out of there. Now, at this point, again, I had no idea what I was dealing with. I didn't fully grasp the meaning of this object until later. But the way it went is that everything, went out of there. This object, which was colorful, or had a certain color in the beginning, was completely gray when everything was completed and done. We left this whole area, wherever this area was. And then, of course, I asked a question. So what was that all about? What was this? Can you give me everything and explain to me what I just did? Now, for those of you who are wondering, I don't do things that I don't realize are good for the humanity. So if you're wondering, well, how come you're doing something and you don't know what you're doing? Do you know it's good? Yes, I know it's good because it feels good. I know I'm doing something for humanity, even though I don't quite understand what it is at the very moment that I do it, because my higher self, the seraphim angelic being, is doing it for me. So in any event, I was told by Archangel Michael basically that what just happened is that this oval-shaped object is what powered up, is what contained, it's a center, the focal point of this so-called hologram. And this hologram was established, or was, run by these ancient magical applications, which is why would explain why I saw all these symbols and things coming out of it. Okay. And these people that I was speaking of, that I mentioned before, were sort of a crew maintaining this magical application, sort of like making sure that it runs, operational, that's operational. They would pick up on things that maybe that someone like me, or others who have tried to maybe get at it so that they can fix it and repair it. Now, what I'm being told is it cannot be repaired. It's done. Okay. The people who are doing this kind of can't redo it because they don't have the knowledge to redo it. As a matter of fact, I believe that this particular object was programmed with ancient knowledge, with ancient magical knowledge and spells and so forth by otherworldly beings such as the Anunnaki. Okay, that is what I believe is what brought this on in the first place. Okay, and so they don't have that knowledge to redo it. It would take these beings to redo it, and they're not in the position right now to do that. So what does that mean overall? It means that the matrix, or the hologram that so many refer to in the spiritual community, has collapsed. And that means that higher consciousness is now can now be accessed in a more easy way for everyone. Because in the past, higher consciousness could be accessed by everyone still, but you had to overcome certain things. It was more difficult. Okay, you had to become awakened. You had to work your way out of it. It was more difficult, which is why some people are awakened and some people are not. But due to the collapse of this hologram, and I feel so weird saying hologram because it doesn't, but I'm going to use the words that they use, is now everyone has a better chance of connecting and integrating this higher consciousness, and therefore helping the planet in the ascension process. Okay, so this was a big hit that they took at that very moment. Okay, now interestingly enough, this was also the same day, around the same time, I believe, that Erik was busy doing something else. And I'm going to lead into it, and then Erik can take it over from there.
Mel, let me interrupt you for 1 minute.
Maybe you can lead into it. Maybe you can explain. Right.
The only reason I want to interrupt Mel is the night before all of this happened, something happened at my home that led to what Erik did. So I'll tell you quickly in a nutshell what happened. They were clearing my place and my vessel as always. And I'm starting to get frustrated because they clear, they work hard, Melanie Erik, pulling down stuff, removing stuff, blocking stuff, and it continues to happen. Also, every night I have reptilians and greys in my home. I don't care what you think. They're here, and I know they're here. And they were leaving marks on my body. I used to call them bites, but I started to notice they looked like like I was being poked, but with a two-prong thing, because the marks were identical, and there's always an inch or 2 inches apart. But every day I woke up. So I said to Erik and Mel, I am 100% sure what is happening to my body is connected to an operation going on at my home. And until we find it and dismantle it, it's not going to stop. And you two are going to be doing this, and I'm going to be, dealing with the discomfort. We need to find what it is. And until we do, we're just going around in circles. And at that same point, Mel got a message from her guides. And no, I yelled out to the universe, will you please show us what we're missing? Someone in the spiritual realm showed up and told Mel to cross the street, down the block, make a left, and she's going to find a home of the Chinese. That Sandra Tong's scavengers, as I call them, or cronies. So Mel and Derek go down the street to the house. They found the house, but Mel was blocked from going inside, and she was told, job for Erik. So Erik goes into the house and discovers a locked room. Sandra Tong's crony, who's running the ship, was trying to block Erik. She didn't know who she's messing with. And he went into the room anyway and discovered a map so large it took over the entire room. And on the map had different points that were marked. And that's when we found out, we got our answer. Sandra Tong and her cronies is linked in to an international operation that we think is trafficking humans and then selling souls. And this so Sandra Tong has been behind the souls that have been going up from my home. Now, one thing I've never told you, there's a third person involved in this story that I've never mentioned because this is an innocent person, and I'm going to respect that person. I met that person, and that's how I ended up that is how Sandra Tong ended up in my life. And she used that connection from him, her hatred of me, to somehow tie me into this operation. And that is how I ended up in this mess, as I call it. And I felt it necessary while Mel was speaking. I kept on being told, you have to share how all of this came about. So then Erik did his usual inspection, little Superman that he is, and he said it might be difficult to take this grid down because it was so massive. And so what Mel was saying just now, and she was implying or indicating that simultaneously, as she took down the hologram, Erik did something, and neither of them knew that simultaneously they were making history by taking down the hologram that's probably been running the universe for eons, and simultaneously Erik, you take over and you can share the details of the second part of this story.
So, yeah, so once I got into the house and looked at the map, it's like a puzzle. You just have to kind of look at it and problem solve and go, okay, what am I looking at? What is this for? And so once I started to kind of figure out, okay, there's marks. Okay, so it's marked out kind of like a grid. Okay, so there were certain symbols on there that I understood what they were. So I quickly figured out that it's some kind of like grid. So I then linked Jennylyn's house was on the map. So then I went back to her house, kind of looked around, and then once I could kind of tune into the energy of the grid, I could see it go up into I could see it in her house, go all the way up into the sky. And so I thought, okay, this thing's really, really, really big. Like big, like I can't even put it into measurable terms. And so I sat around and thought about it. I'm like, how am I supposed to do this? This thing's huge. There's no real clues. It's just like just a giant beam of energy. And I'm not real sure exactly what it does. So then I just kind of went out into the into space and just kind of looked down at the planet, and I could see the grid. It was like cased. It was like cased around our planet. And so then I started thinking about, I'm like, you know how throughout history, people have said that we're a prison planet, that we're just a prison planet. Well, that's what it looked like to me. It looked like that's the grid that makes us a prison planet. Well, are we prisoner in human form? I'm not real sure. I think we were more prisoned in a lot of our spiritual side. So I then started looking around and saying, okay, there's got to be a way that they're powering this thing, and there's got to be a way to stop it. It can't just be a big cage that just magically shows up. So I started looking around the world, and then I found it. There was one place where all of it kind of comes from, and it was in the very northern part of Greenland. So I went to Greenland and found it, and there was nobody there. It was almost like an abandoned building, or it was running on autopilot. There was nobody there. And I think the reason is because it was so far north. I don't think they thought anybody would ever go there. And they would have been right if I hadn't, looked at the planet the way that I did. So then I just went and I thought, you know what, this thing's got to go. And so I just put my they were like angelic, like claymore mines. And I just kind of stuck them everywhere, all over this thing. And then I flew out and I blew it up. And then the grid went away. And then as I'm back out into space and I'm watching, something's going to happen, I start seeing billions and billions of souls come out of the planet and out into space. And then this white light opens up just like a portal, but it was so bright and all the souls went into it. And so I think I understand what happened. I think a lot of souls were trapped here, like on the planet. I think they've just been migrating them around throughout the years inside this prison planet. And but I was able to set them free, and now they're in their next phase of existence.
Thank you, Erik. And so I think if you've been following this series long enough, you would know that we did the research and we found out that the reptilians needed the souls. It's I was told, not their food, but they need it for survival, for energy, for whatever. So basically, it adds up why they were always at my house. I guess Sandra Tong and her cronies made my home like maybe one of the headquarters. And it would explain why I kept on seeing things laid out outside of my house over time that I couldn't explain. So that's one big story, but we have so many. Be prepared for a long show. So, Mel, I don't know if you or Erik want to tell the next big thing that happened. There's so many.
I'm trying to remember now. You're right. There's so much that went on that I don't even remember. I know that Erik, I want to add something that Erik found that there are many people that are involved in this grid that he took down, right? You mentioned, Erik, that maybe you can speak on that, is that there were many people around the world who literally were experiencing similar things like Jennylyn was, that their properties and their vessels were used. I think you mentioned that they had a fail-safe, right? They were using her vessel as a fail-safe, if I remember correctly. Maybe you want to speak on that. I don't know. That's your thing. You can.
Yeah. So I mean, Jennylyn wasn't the only one. Every single place where this grid was marked on this map, there was somebody there that was affected, that they were affecting, just like Jennylyn. I think, and this is just my thought, I'm not real sure on it, but I think they were they want to keep the people at these marked points as distracted as possible with all these other things, so they don't discover, or accidentally stumble upon the grid. Because they had it hidden from me pretty good. I didn't I didn't see it until I kind of felt that I needed to see it, and so that was something that was kind of interesting. And then I went back to the house that Mel was told to go to, and I went back into the room. Well, I've been messing with the people there. And
they're Chinese people, so they know who you're talking about.
Yeah, so these Chinese people, I went back to the house and I was dressed up like I was selling Girl Scout cookies, and they got mad, but I still went anyway because they can't stop me from going in there. But I just wanted to aggravate them. But I went back up into the room, and because I wanted to see, there were some things that kind of stood out to me that I wanted to go back and look at, and there were symbols all over this map. And so then I saw what I call the Eye of Ra. And so I just kind of touched it. And then it was like a massive amount of like energy came into me, and it was just this blue like flame, and like my body just absorbed it. So it was really weird. I didn't understand what was happening. I just know I felt different. And so then I was like, whoa, I just got this like blue flame. I don't know what's supposed to happen, but now I have blue flames all the time. But it does come into play later in the story, so I don't want to spoil it with this part of the story. But I did go back there, and that's where I obtained some new things. And then we had the port. We've had portal problems lately, and these portals are everywhere. So the first time that we really, like, Jennylyn's had stuff happening in her backyard. There's always something in her backyard. And so finally we were just kind of looking around, like I can sense the energy. And then for some reason there's parts of the yard that they don't let Mel go to. And I thought that was kind of weird. I'm like, well, there's got to be something about this little part of her yard that that Mel just can't cross over into. So then we end up, figuring out like there's a portal above her yard. So I thought, what does this portal do? I'm going to go through it. So I went up there and I went through the portal. Well, then it took me to like ancient Sumerian time.
Egypt, yeah.
I was like, what is going on? I didn't know where I was at. I was describing, and that's Mel's like, oh, you're in Egypt. Like, then it turned into like Mel. It was like I had an earpiece in, and I'm walking around, and Mel's like watching a security camera telling me where to go. Because I wasn't quite sure what I was supposed to be doing, but Mel had it tuned in to, she knew where I needed to be. So she's like, oh, right in front of you is the Pyramid of Giza. I was literally looking at it while she was telling me this. And so she's like, yeah, go to the left. And then I kept walking. Then she's like, stop. And then I found this door. So I went in, and then she kind of guided me through these tunnels that are in the pyramid.
Then you saw a statue.
Well, we didn't get to the statue yet.
Oh, okay.
That's towards the last part of it. But I get to this big open room, and I could see it was full. It was full of Anunnaki, Like they were everywhere. There were probably like 50 or 60 of them in there. And so they couldn't see me. So I just kept, Mel just said, hey, go over here and go through there. So I kept going and kind of maneuvering around. And that's when I found this, like, well, I think Mel told me to stop. And then I turned and looked.
Yeah, and the key. You forgot the key.
Oh, yeah, the key.
Yes.
You found the key first. I didn't see it, but Mel said, hey, there's a key. And
right, and the Anunnaki, remember? I was literally told that when you were looking at the Anunnaki, I heard, tell him to ask for the key. Yeah. So you did, and you got a key, right?
I got a key. I didn't know what to do with it, and it was kind of fancy looking. It was cool. So I was like, okay, well, I guess I'll keep this key. But these everybody keeps giving us keys. That's just weird. Just every time we turn around, somebody's handing us a key for something. But then that's when then we found the.
Are you guys hearing the feedback? A lot of feedback on your end, Erik.
Yeah. But then we found the statue. So that statue had a scroll behind it, and so I started reading the scroll, and it had like 2 pieces of information on it. And the one piece of information was for something that I needed to do later. And it was a scroll from Thoth. So I don't generally deal with the Egyptian gods, so I'm not familiar with them too much, but Mel is. And it just kind of told me some things that I needed to do. So I was like, okay, well, I know I got to keep this scroll. So like, I felt like everything that I needed to do inside of this portal was complete. So I went back, I was like, okay, I'm going to get out of here. So then we get out, and then I realized, like, hey, this key closes the portal. So I just kind of waved my hand like off to the side of the portal, and I saw a keyhole. So I stuck the key in there. I turned it. It shut the portal. So then I don't remember how we ended up in Antarctica, but that's where we went next.
You went to go to see Sess to get Sess out of where. And guys, in case you're wondering how I know, the 3 of us were on the phone while all of this, we're all talking to each other. While Erik is doing this, I kept getting tapped on my head. Mel, someone is tapping on my head. Oh, it's Aris. It's this one. We had a lot of Greek gods that came in who went to help Erik. So they would come knock on my head. I'd say, Mel, someone is here. And then Mel would say, Erik, you need to tell them you want them to help. So Erik ended up with them all helping him. Okay, Erik. Back to you.
So I went to Antarctica, and I used my portal key, and so I can open portals as well. So I went to go see Seth, which he's the extraterrestrial that they have down there that they've been interviewing. So I get there, and we start talking, and he's like, hey, give me that key. I'm like, all right. So I hand him the key. He's like, okay, well, now I can do what I need to be doing. And so I'm pretty sure I was supposed to just get that key from ancient Egypt and bring it into present time Antarctica and give it to another alien. And I was like, okay.
It sounds so crazy, but it happened. It is happening, people, in real time.
So now he's not a prisoner anymore. So he can actually leave Antarctica and go do the things that he needs to do.
Erik, can I interrupt you for 1 second? For those people watching this show, I'm sure some of you are aware who Sess is and some are not. Sess is the alien being that came out of this egg shape. Erik, you want to tell them more about Sess? You know more than I do. Just so they have a background on who he is and how he's important in this picture.
So he comes from he's an extraterrestrial that they have it. The many different governments are involved, but they have him in Antarctica, and there's been a lot of leaked footage and audio that's come out about him just recently. That they're basically they've been interrogating him and asking him questions, which I've been told they've been talking to him for quite some time now, but things are getting more enhanced now for whatever reason. But he's in Antarctica, he's an extraterrestrial, and he's been in stasis, and he's been awakened from stasis, and there's still an egg there that has several other extraterrestrials in them that are still in stasis that they can't get out of stasis.
You retrieved a non-human craft.
Yes, I have. For everyone that's getting exposed to this right now, humble yourself from the perspective of what you consider believable.
Can you describe the retrievals end to end?
Yeah.
What happens? Where are you?
I sit back at a separate location. I get GPS coordinates at the very last second. I get dispatched, I go there, and then en route, from very short range out, maybe 5 minutes out, I get read a description of what it is I'm picking up. It's so real when you look at it. It's not like in the background you're hearing, oh, and there's this light, like this is an epic moment. Where's the crescendo of, it's like, no, there's just flying a helicopter, come over a ridge, there's an egg sitting there and dudes sitting around on the ground, flashing you, calling you in. It doesn't register as exciting, in that format.
I don't know, when I'm hearing the story, a big, giant 20-foot egg, how do you know that's non-human intelligence?
Since we've left the program and reorganized and are now working with Errol, I can make the egg show up. And we have. And we've demonstrated it post-program. And we did it in August.
Oh my God.
In broad daylight. At the moment we elicited the egg flies by in dead silence, moving at 10,000 miles per hour.
All right, one more.
Guy in the white tan suit.
Everyone likes to ask, why am I not afraid that someone's going to try and silence me with death? There are people that have died who were coming out and who were speaking out on our activities.
Anybody you know?
Yes.
Can you say anything more?
No, because there's an investigation happening right now. I'm not afraid of the boogeyman. I am the boogeyman. You don't want to show up at my house and think you're going to be successful with brute force, because that's going to go south for you really quickly. It's got this cold, military, political stigma attached to it, but that's not it. It's not about like flying equipment. Like, can we get in a flying saucer and like get to London in 2 minutes? Or could we get there yesterday because now we know, screw all that. The real implications are way more powerful. It's realizing that there is something else out there that's maybe not extra at all. It's something that's part of us. It's like outer space versus inner space is all the same.
But you gave him the key, and so he's no longer a prisoner of theirs.
Yeah, he can maneuver around all over the place now. He's
So that was that night. And the next night, and then I'll hand this over to Melanie Erik again. I'm just kind of bringing the sequence of events. I try to remember because they are so busy, working. The next night, I was just like, the three of us were just catching up with the events of the day, because we are in the middle of a huge spiritual war. And you guys very soon will see what we've been sharing here. We don't know the date, but we know it's imminent. We know it's around the corner because we have been told this, okay? And this is why things are speeding up. And this is why Mel has had to take down the hologram. Erik has had to take down the grid. It was not to save me. It was to release the billions of souls. And now we're on to the next phase. So that next night, we're catching up, and I keep getting my head hit. Bam, bam, bam. I'm like, wait. My head is starting to feel like a drum. Mel, the right side is being hit, the left side, the top, the bottom. Turns out we had about 6 different, like all of the Egyptian gods, they had come in to warn Eric to protect his home. And if we can't say this, I'll edit it out. But I was told to tell the world what we know, so I'm doing that. So Eric was asked to invite them over to his house. And then Eric, you can tell what happened when they went to your house, and then you and Mel can share, the pre-war that you ended up fighting, both of you.
Yeah, so there was a lot of different like gods and warriors like in my office with me. Like they just kept coming, and they kept announcing themselves to Jennylyn, and then Mel would say, yeah, they're trying to help. So I end up with like, I don't know how many there were in there. There was like 10 to 12 different gods and warriors in my house.
He even had an Indian woman. He had Mother Kali, for those of you who know Kali, and she was Eric's favorite.
Yeah, we have a love-hate relationship, I think.
Oh my God.
So but there was a little bit of everybody. You had some Egyptians, and like Thoth and Seth, Osiris, Thor. There was a Palladian representative. There was a Lyrian representative, which I've never ever encountered a Lyrian before. So that was interesting and very informative. I learned a lot. Then there was Brahma. I never encountered any of the Hindu gods before, so Brahma was there. He was a fun one too. And then there was Vishnu and Ganesh, then Kali, was Zeus, and
Right.
Bastet. Yeah, so there I had a little bit of everybody.
You forgot one that the world would love to know.
And the surprise guest that showed up last was Lucifer showed up, and so that was a surprise, but it was nice to see him show up, and he carried his weight in this whole thing. So I could probably hand it over to Mel because I think she found the next step of things to do.
So, well, yeah, it's kind of like I want to piggyback on the on what you said earlier with ancient Egypt. It was so funny. I really felt like in one of those 007 movies. You know, you are the agent, secret agent in doing something, and I'm the one who's like giving you, okay, now turn left, turn right, touch the wall, turn to and literally. And I wasn't seeing things necessarily, but I was literally, as he's walking, I told him, stop now and turn to the right. What do you see? And then he would tell me what to see. And okay, now touch it, those kinds of things. So I want people to get an idea of what this was. It was like the perfect sort of, working together. We've never done this to that extent. It really was incredible, right? So, well, this is kind of like what happened with the gods. And I want to, tell people that the gods have been part of my spiritual journey since the beginning. Okay, so years ago when I first started, the gods came in, primarily the Egyptian gods. Okay, those are my standard, but also other ones. So I just want to tell people that I have a connection to these gods that have announced or introduced themselves in the beginning of my spiritual journey. And at the time, I always wondered, well, why are there all these gods around? Why do they go? And I had no idea what for until now. It really became very, very clear as to what we're going to be talking about, in just a couple minutes, why these gods were all around. And it is all about, I didn't know what I was going to get involved in. And, whenever they tapped onto Jennylyn's head, it was like, she was like, Mel, who is this? And I would tune in and I said, this God and this God and this God or goddess, because Bastet is a goddess. So there were two females there, Kali and Bastet. So it was very, very fascinating that they were all coming in. And I said, okay, this is very interesting because I've never seen them collaborate, come together in that group like that much. I mean, they sometimes, show up together, but not like that. And so when they were all in Erik's place, I tuned in again. Okay, so why are they in Erik's place? What's going on here? That's kind of how it is. I kind of map out what needs to be done. I get like the next assignment, and then and then tell Erik through his little microphone, and the thing like, okay, let's do this or go there. And this is kind of like how this went. Because as all these gods are in there and he's doing whatever he's doing, I get a hint to go someplace off of the coast of South Africa. So I'm being drawn again. I'm psychically drawn to a certain place off of the coast of South Africa. So I go tell Erik. I said, Erik, I'm not sure why I'm being called to the coast of South Africa, but I'm supposed to tell you. And I don't know what's there, but you might want to go check what's in South Africa, right? What's in the ocean off the coast. So you go and you can pick it up from there, because that is where you and all of those gods and goddesses were doing your thing. Yeah.
So we found a layer, I would say. Yeah. And so we figured out, we had to figure out how to get in. And so that was a little bit, so we decided we were going to go through the underworld. And actually, I didn't know you could do this. And Horace was like, yeah, we're going to go through the underworld. I'm like, okay. So we go through the underworld, and it was funny because we have all these, demons in the underworld. And as soon as you see this, like every god they can think of shows up at one time, and they all scatter like cockroaches, or like everybody just gets scared and leaves. And so we go and we get through the underworld part, and then we go through these deeper tunnels that takes us kind of, I don't know how to describe that, what the center of the, like kind of the core of the earth or something. We were deep into the earth. And there was this big opening, and there was just probably 1 million reptilians down there. And so that, we knew, me and Mel had been talking, and we kind of figured out like this big battle is going to happen like any moment. And why not go get them first? And so that's what we had decided to do. That's why we end up going to South Africa. Like, okay, this is going to happen. Might as well get it started. And so we go down there, and we're in this. We're like, okay, I got the Lyrans, who I didn't know this at the time, but they're these great warriors. And so this Lyran, he's kind of, I would probably compare him to a general. He's mapping it out. He's like, okay, we're going to go down here. You guys are going down there. He's telling everybody where to go and what to do. He's created this plan. And so we start to execute this plan. And so I was to fly I had other angels with me and Zeus. So we go, and we're flying around, and we had to wait for our time to attack. So you got the Lyrans and the Palladians stayed back. They were like the second line of defense. And you've got the Egyptians are down there doing their thing. And it was intense. It was an intense battle. You're just seeing stuff. I'm watching this woman god with 6 arms just tearing things apart. And I'm like, what is happening? Like, why can't, like, where's the movie directors at? I need to describe this and make a movie and get rich. And so I'm seeing this epic, it's an epic battle, like something from the Lord of the Rings. And it's happening. And then all of a sudden Zeus he's electrocuting lizards. Like it's like he's just throwing lightning bolts at all these reptilians on the ground, and then we get in there. Mel comes in and she starts like hitting like atomic bombs in there, which I needed her to do it. She didn't realize it at the time, but I needed her to do it because she would create openings because there were so many reptilians down there that there was really no place for me to land unless I was landing on top of something. So she actually helped me and the angels out by throwing these bombs in there, and we were able to get on the ground and fight. I'll bet you we took out probably 500,000 reptilians, and then they started to retreat. And then we had a few choice words for some of their leadership, and we allowed them to retreat, but we did a lot of damage. They lost half of their reptilian forces, but it's not over. It's not over. The reptilians aren't the only ones going to be involved in this. They're just the kind of like your frontline infantry. So this is going to be, as time goes, probably a much larger ongoing thing.
Thank you, Eric. And while this is going on, I'm on the other line. I'm jumping up and down in my kitchen, getting chills, tears running down my face, because it's so hard for us to convey what this really means for the world to you. All we can do is wait on the big event. And then maybe you can go back and watch these videos and they will make sense to you then. But all we can do is what we are tasked with. It's not our responsibility to pry your eyes open and believe what we're sharing. And I do understand when you don't believe, because it's not something that is easy for you to understand. And as humans, cognitive dissonance, I use this word every week, or these words, they get in the way, and our minds are not capable of opening up to that which we do not comprehend. So I get it. Okay, Mel, I wanted to hand this back over to you because I don't know what else you want to share. I know we did some work last night. I don't know if we're allowed to share that or not. The map that we discovered last night, I don't know. You and Eric decide.
Well, first I want to speak on something a little else with regard to that fight in that layer that he was just talking about. It was so funny. Now, I wasn't part of this. I didn't go with Eric and all of these gods and goddesses and the Pleiadians and, the Lyrans and all those. I was in my living room, okay? And the next thing I know is I felt the need, and I'm very tuned in. I start to go and use my hands to create to draw in energy through symbols. I draw. It's like part of me. I'm not a witch. I don't do magic, but I have a way. My higher self knows by using ancient symbols to create or gain extra strength to do something. So all of a sudden, I was doing this stuff, and I didn't know why at first, and then I was throwing these bombs, like he was saying, down there. And I wasn't sure exactly why I was doing it. I was just hoping it was doing exactly what it was meant to do. Now, but one thing, that's not why I'm mentioning this, because one thing that came up is I intuitively honed in on a particular, reptilian individual. And I said, the general, take him out. He needs to go. And I can't see anything. All I see, and I saw which appeared to be like a tail and like a larger figure, because that's, someone of status. And I told Eric, like, you need to go get him. And Eric, maybe you want to tell what happened as you were going to get it as somebody.
So, like I said, I have a love-hate relationship with Callie. So she went with me to get this general. And so she said, do you want to see what else I can do? I said, yeah, I do. Let's see it. And so she's got all these arms, right? So she's doing stuff with them. So she grabs this general by like its face and lifts its head up. And then she's got all these other arms that just reach in and grab this thing's ribs and just rips them apart by his ribs. And I was like, oh, that's disturbing. And she was like, come here, I'll show you some more stuff I can do. I'm like, nope, I'm good. I've seen enough.
Yes. No, I've dealt with Kali before. Kali's been around and assisting me on my journey too every once in a while. And I know exactly what you mean, because one time I took her, she came with me. I knew she was with me, and we were going to get something. And I remember her distinctly saying, I located its source. Now I'm going to rip it to shreds. I never forget those words. So yes, I know she has a habit of shredding, of tearing things to shreds. So I've never seen it, but I know she does it. So yeah, don't mess it.
She's not funny. Like,
no.
I make it sound like she's being a jokester, but she is not. She is dead serious. She has, I don't think, I'm starting to feel like that. She might not have a very bright soul. She is an angry, like, ruthless God. And when she looks at you and she's like, come here, let me show you. I'm like, no, I'm good. You stay over there. As a matter of fact, you go all the way down there. I don't even want you anywhere near me. And that's how she makes you feel. Like she's a phenomenal warrior, no doubt about it. But she's scary. Like, she stay down there.
Yeah. Yeah, I've seen exactly what you said earlier. I've seen her enter a space or come into a space, and then demons just scatter everywhere. I mean, they know if she shows up, they scatter. No, but I think one of the things that I was drawn to, again, every time we're on the phone, I kind of get these intuitive hints, right? And these intuitive hints brought us to a place in Switzerland. I don't even know when it was. 2 days ago, yesterday, I don't remember.
It was before the war.
It was gotcha. It was in Switzerland, so we're not doing it in order necessarily. We're just, basically, I'm getting this feeling and this intuit, and I sort of go and I trace it, and then we. And I can't see, as I'm tracing the energy, I can't see because I'm concentrating on the energy. I go by the energetic trace. And I tell Eric, okay, Eric, there's something west of Geneva, and I have no idea. And I said, it's a compound. And that's all I knew. I didn't know what kind of compound. And then you go and you find what it is I'm looking at. And it's so very fascinating without me knowing exactly where it is. You find these places because you hone in on the energy of me and where I'm at. So that's very fascinating. I want people to know that I'm not giving him necessarily, their exact locations or coordinates or whatever you might want to call it. He knows. He just knows. His soul, his angelic self knows where to go.
Yeah, I have a little secret. I just go fly up in the air, and then I just kind of look around what's below me. And like, I'll go to Switzerland, fly around, look around, and I go, oh, it's right there. Like you can tell there's like a kind of a certain type of heat signature that otherworldly beings give off that I can see. And it's different than humans. It's like much, much brighter. So it sticks out like a beacon. But I go there, and I've got like, my gang with me, my angels. We're flying around doing stuff. So we get to this place and we go in, and I'm just a walk right in the front door type of person. So I just open up the door and I just walk right in, and then down comes this big giant Anunnaki. And, he's like, what do you want? And I'm like, well, I'm here because you're a problem. And now you have a problem. And so then I got my sword out, and it turned blue. I let my blue flame come out, and he's like, where did you get that? And I said, Jesus saves, brother. Jesus saves. He didn't like that. And, I said, don't make me come back here, because you're being a problem. And the rest of my angels, we're getting ready to jump on this guy. And so yeah, the Switzerland's always a problem. There's always something nefarious going on there. There's always some kind of negative energy floating around there all the time. And I think we've touched on it quite a bit since we've been doing the show, that we pretty much know why.
Can I insert something?
Yeah.
Go buy Eric's book, The Swiss Effect. You're going to find some tips in there.
Yeah, I did write a whole book about the whole thing before we even met. It's really weird how this
Yeah.
all
Before I met Eric, before he met Mel and I, he had just published a book called The Swiss Effect. And the backlash from this book is he got banned from England.
Yay.
And that's when you know the book's got something in it worth finding out. Go get the book. It's on Amazon and many bookstores. Okay, Eric, continue with your story.
I mean, that is pretty much the end of the story. That was a pretty fun trip to Switzerland, though, where he didn't have any power. The Anunnaki that was there, he had no power, or not over what we were doing, and you could see when my blue flame came out, he was done. He didn't want to play around or nothing. He wanted us to just go and leave, and that showed me some things that, now there's other things that I've been able to evolve out from the blue flame. It's a powerful thing. And, I'm pretty sure the gods gave it to me for a certain reason. And I've been learning a little bit more about it as we continue on.
So all you bullies who've been messing with us, both Eric and Mel, are equipped with weapons that no darkness can match. And at this point of the interview, I want to tell you the day after all of the events that we have shared, I woke up feeling chipper, like I'm going to have a great day. They took down all the bad guys. The grid is down. The hologram is down. Watch out, world. Here I come. Go to work. And of course, I got the usual attacks, which in the evening after work led Mel to Switzerland, back to the main bad guy. And Mel will tell you what he did with his ring, because all of what they had done sort of rendered these powers in the dark world, kind of took them down a few notches, maybe all the way down. And so in order to punish Mel and Eric, the retaliation comes toward me because they can't touch them. So they see me as the weak link. But listen up, and the word that I want to say, I won't because I respect my viewers. You mess with me, you're messing with them. We are one. We are a divine, organized body here on a spiritual mission. Anytime you mess with one of us, you mess with all of us, and you will have to deal with the consequences. So Mel can share what happens when she went to the big bad guy, the guy that they call Master.
Yeah, so, I was taking something out of your chest, right? There was something, oh, no, wait a second. It wasn't out of your chest. This was in your house. We were clearing your house. And, I felt as though in the basement, and Eric was there too. We were kind of going back and forth. He saw something and confirmed what I saw. And then he took it out because he can see better. And I can take it out too. I just, stab it. And then I feel the energy go and I'm like, okay, it's done. So, I see things again. The way I do things is I react to energy, which allows me to trace things, which allows me to psychically trace things. There's a reason for that. And there was this ball of light, which appeared to be like behind the stairs. I was really drawn to behind the stairs. And I said, Eric, what's there? What's behind the stairs? And then he said, well, there's this light thing that keeps moving. And I said, I knew something's off there. I want to go and check it. I took it. I found it, psychically found it. I honed in on it. I took it. And then as I was holding it, I didn't know what to do with it. And when I couldn't transmute it or get rid of it, I know that there's something for me to do with it. So I sat there. I must have been like 5 minutes with this thing. And I'm thinking, what am I supposed to do with this thing? Either I get rid of it or I do something with it. And then all of a sudden, the universe responds, and here I go. Psychically, I'm being drawn to Switzerland, to this a person which we know as Master Dude. Okay, I call him Master Dude. Not to his face, but to us. That's how I refer to him, as the Master Dude. And the reason why I say this is because everybody calls him Master or refers to him as Master. That's how he's being talked to by others. Okay. So, and Eric's had his run-in with him a couple times. Okay. So he's been on our radar and we've dealt with him. But he is what we consider, we don't know exactly what he is. He's not a specific species of otherworldly, but he's not human either. So he's a powerful entity that's been around for a while, not just this existence, but other existences, and he keeps coming back, and he always does the dark thing. So I show up in his space, and he was kind of, his nonchalant way, because that's kind of how he is. Nothing seems to be bothering him. He doesn't appear arrogant per se. He just appears very calm, probably because of his experiences in this existence and others. Like nothing can rile him up really that much. It appears, at least. So he said, "What are you going to do with this?" And I said, because I was holding this, light bulb. And I said, "Well, hopefully not use it. Hopefully use it here if I need to." And he, oh, wait a second. Yeah, I'm just thinking of something that we missed to talk about. So I'll go back and talk about that other stuff later. But this was, so anyway, to go back to what I'm saying, he basically had been, not, okay, I'm trying to see here how to say this without having to go back. So the only reason why I'm stopping here and kind of like regrouping my thinking is that we missed a part that should be told before. But instead, I'm just going to finish my thought now, and then we can go back and talk about the other stuff. So this thing with his cronies, he has those who really, really, adore him, like they worship this man, okay, or this entity, okay. That's why they call him Master. They were upset about something that occurred the day before, and that's the part that we left out. So something occurred the day before, so they got really, really mad, and they started doing things on their own. These are also warlocks, and people who are very skilled in magical, in the magical realm, and they were upset that this happened to him, so they lashed out at Jennylyn. And so this was in response to whatever was in your chest. So what? So this being, he sort of was like, well, it's not me. They're doing it on their own. And I said to him, well, it's, even though it's not you, they're doing it because of you. Tell them to stop, or I'll use this. Okay, I sort of threatened it. I'll come back and I'll use it. And I told him that, I know when your cronies are doing it, so don't think that you can sort of get one over me. I know exactly what you're doing. Now, in order to, I basically threatened him in so many terms. And it wasn't a threat, it was a promise. Okay, and I still have this little light ball that I can use whenever I want to. So, but to backtrack now, and then this is all this. You see how this all gets kind of convoluted here, and because we did so much. There was what Jennylyn was referring to was the fact that this Master Dude surrendered his signet ring. Okay, and that was when we went after him. The day before, when we found out that he was involved in something, I went after him for what he was doing, and for some reason he had been on the back burner. like it's almost as if, okay, they're taking a break, they're allowing everyone else to do something, and all of a sudden they emerge again. So again, I'm very tapped into which energy is connected to what. So if I sense the magical threads or something to someone, the intention, it's the intention that I follow. Okay, so when Jennylyn has something in her body, it's the intention that speaks, and the intention leads me to the source. That's usually how it works. Okay, if it's a magical thread, then I'll go there. But in this case, it was Master Dude again, and he, as a result of the battle that Erik did, and that whole thing, he surrendered his ring. He had a signet ring on his hand that was very, very important to his status. Okay, very important to him. As being the master of whatever he's doing. And I saw him through a remote viewing, surrendering or taking the ring off, okay, and I think it was his right hand, and putting it on the table. And then one of his personal assistant or somebody who was really close to him, I actually listened into the conversation, and this person said, but Master, how can you do that? How can you do this? They were upset, okay? And the Master Dude said, it's over. He kind of knew, because that was in response to what you did, Erik, because he knew he's tapped into everything. Maybe I need to go recap for people who this Master Dude is. He's in Switzerland. He's of a high status among the dark side, okay? He is, again, he's not a particular race, of a species of alien or otherworldly being, rather, but he can tap into the reptilian consciousness. I've seen him do that. Okay, so he was very well aware what was going on with the reptilians, while Erik and his little group of people were doing things to the reptilians. He knew, and since he worked so closely with them, he knew what this meant. So he surrendered this not this ring, the signet ring. And that to me was profound, because I knew how important that ring is to him, and him asserting his power. But taking it off is almost a sign of surrender. And it wasn't a surrender outwardly to us or to the light side, but he did it in his own private space, not thinking that I would see it. So when I got there the next day, and I, had this light energy, I looked at the ring, which was still in the same place, and I said, "This is when I said, tell your people to stop," because his people were really upset about that fact. They could not believe and did not want their master to, give up his mission, whatever it is that he was doing. So I don't know. It was kind of like a lot in trying to explain what happened with this guy. But you have to understand that this entity, this being, is very powerful and very knowledgeable, very old. Okay, so when you deal with him, this is why nothing can sort of upset him. And we can actually tell this, right, Erik? The ones who you've been noticing or encountering, you can tell when an entity has an old soul or is really ancient, because they seem to be just nonchalant, right? Nothing bothers them, no matter what happens, right? They seem to be very much in control of themselves. You want to speak on that? Do you agree with that?
Oh yeah, you can definitely tell which ones have a much more ancient being, which ones carry more knowledge. You can tell. It's just the way they carry themselves. They're not like, when you go into the underworld and you see things like scatter, those aren't powerful ancient beings. They're more recent than that. So it's a significant difference between the ancient hierarchy versus some of the newer ones. They've seen everything, they've done everything, nothing gets to them. They know what all the rules are, they know how to break the rules, they know how to bend the rules. So You can tell.
Right. And I'm wondering now, and I never got to the part where I could literally sit with it and ask whether or not Master Dude may have been involved in that whole grid, right? That not the grid that you took up, but the hologram. Because remember, I said that I was shown that there were people in Davos, Switzerland, who were actively working on keeping this hologram in place, maintaining it. And since Master Dude resides in Davos as well, it is likely that he had his hands in this. I mean, I can't imagine that he didn't. I mean, it just all roads lead to Switzerland. Like you say, it's really, really profound how many connections we find to Switzerland. Not just Switzerland, but really is. And you mentioned it before, Erik. It's interesting how Switzerland is considering themselves to be neutral, right?
Yeah.
when they really when they really aren't. So yeah, I mean, now I want to speak on something that we're not going to be revealing all of it about clearly, because there are some things that still need to be done, but we also were shown something that may affect the future. Okay, so yesterday I was again feeling as though I took something out of Jennylyn's yard, some sort of contraption, and then this contraption, the intention led me somewhere, and I said to Erik, "Hey, Erik, can you go follow this? Or where is it I'm going? Where is this at? Where is my energy? Like, can you check it?" And he did. And it was one of those 007 moments again, like you see a home, right? You go in and you do this and you that, and then you look and you found another map, right? And the map was something that we will have to deal with in the future. It is something that was shown to us that will assist us in preventing some future things. So I'm guided to say this on here because those who are, constantly coming, against us need to know that we have knowledge of things that you don't know we do. And we know things and can do things you don't believe us to be able to do. So, that's just the way it is. It's almost as if the angelic realm in particular, and the gods, they're chiming in here, want to speak their mind. They want to issue a warning. That's what it is. And I'm channeling this here, okay? And I'm specifically mentioning one particular god that is stepping forward here, and that is Osiris. Okay. Osiris he's coming in right now.
Hello.
He wants to issue a warning to those who are listening. Beware. Beware. That's what I'm channeling. That's his those are his words, not mine. So that's what it is. Osiris is one of those gods that came in to my existence, to my life in the beginning of my spiritual journey. He and the others have been part of this journey for some time. And again, I think it really makes sense now more so than ever before why that was done. So all I know is, for those of you who do not know who Osiris is, look it up. He's an ancient Egyptian god, but he's among the most feared. Okay, when Osiris shows up, he's like the CEO of the place. Okay, like a company, if you so will. It's I've seen others who literally are sort of, stepping back and say, okay, I'm out, when he steps in. So the fact that he wants to come forth right now and issue this warning, to me, is huge. That to me says that he's not playing because he normally doesn't do that. So just saying.
Well, we've been on for about an hour and 45 minutes, which is a really long video. And I know it's difficult for people to stay engaged for this long. So I think we'll cut it off here for now. And I'll make notes of what we were going to share today. And hopefully next week we haven't got as many events happening and we can tell you then. But the reason we try to share everything is I asked the universe, should we even be telling half of what we share? Because I know it's going to matrix over many people's heads. And I was told, tell the world what we know in no uncertain terms. So we put the material out there, and those of you who are meant to get this will. The rest of you, I'm not going to apologize. Don't watch it. I've made this declaration before. I'm not here for hits and numbers. I'm not that egotistical. I don't care. I'm putting this out there, and those who are meant to be blessed by it will. And in my final message today, Sandra Tang, the big lump of feces you left at my front door on Monday, you did the same thing to my medical cosmetic clinic that I partially owned with a friend, and you shut it down. But this time, here's my message for you, Sandra. You got me wrapped up in some dark, the word that starts with S. It came out on its own. And I want you to know everything you intended for me. Sit back and put your feet up. It's heading back to you. Because you can't take out a light. You cannot take out a woman who's done nothing wrong to you, and I've never consciously done anything to hurt another human. So, have fun. You will enjoy all that you intended for me. And all of the others out there trying to hurt me because of disclosure, you know what is coming. Go back and look at the damage that's already done. And if you continue, the message you're sending Erik, Mel, and I is you are a sucker for punishment. It's coming. Okay, Mel, your closing message.
Okay, well, let's speak about Sandra Tang, and then I'll give it to Erik, because Sandra, that lump of feces she's talking about, one of the gods actually shoveled it up and stuck it in your bed, and you were sleeping in it. So, you know what this means energetically. You were sleeping in your own, you know what. And by the way, Erik's little light, blue light, a blue thing that he received through the eye of Ra, recently. Actually, he's used it. He has used it on a couple people, including yourself and your little Chinese friend, right? And Erik hopefully can speak on that real quick before he ends. But I just want to say that, we may not get to everyone at right away, right? But it always comes. It always. We will always find it. We will always get to it. If not sooner rather than later, it doesn't matter. You cannot escape. That's all I'm going to say, because I'm always being shown things every day about doing something, and Erik is being told and shown things every day. And there just is this arrogance amongst what they consider themselves to be elite or better than superiority, an air of superiority, which really is not, appropriate anymore. It's not. It never was, but it certainly isn't now. And Sandra, you are in the garage. You are so far in the garage, you can't even open the garage door. Okay. And I'm saying this because Jennylyn heard her speak, not too long ago about saying that she was not in the garage. And that was before we took her whole grid down, or Erik rather took her grid down, a part of what she was part of. So Erik, that's what I'm going to leave everybody with. So Erik, do you want to speak on what your little blue light did with the Chinese people, and then whatever ended?
So that was the first. Maybe Jennylyn doesn't ever hurt a fly, but I'm not that kind of person. So when I find people doing nefarious things, I found that my blue flame can give people energetic seizures. So I was able to basically just engulf them in it, and her and her little buddy, and then just have them have a seizure, and they didn't like it very much. They couldn't do anything. They were just frozen, but they were in a lot of pain. So we can keep doing that. If you want to come out of the garage, come on, but you're gonna have a seizure probably. That's it. Seizures.
Thank you, my friends. Thank you for all you're doing to save our universe. Thank you for making the time and always being willing to follow the guidance of the divine and to do what you're doing. And Sandra, while they were both speaking, my guides told me to say this. If your jealousy led you to do all of the heinous things you've done to my life, blocking me and all that you've done, because you are envious and because you were trying to separate me from another human or my success, whatever the reason is, here's what I want to leave you to ponder. This earth is not the final destination. Where my soul is going and the other people that you're trying to separate, where their souls are going, you can never go. And that's it, Sandra. And I will see you guys next week. We've got a really long show for you this week, but we didn't want to leave anything out. Spirit wants you to know all that we've shared and all the messages that the gods have left you with. I would encourage you to take them seriously. And we will be back next week, if not before, because I have a feeling, a really strong feeling, something humongous is going to happen this week, and we might not be able to wait until the weekend. Love you guys. Thank you for trusting us, and hopefully this information is helping you. With the grid gone or the hologram gone, you should find yourself a little bit more receptive to this type of information. And see you soon. Bye-bye.